The cameras were rolling, the nation's eyes fixed on yet another stage where Donald Trump promised to deliver his usual bravado. But this time, something was different. The room carried a tension you could cut with a knife. The crowd shifted in their seats, waiting for the former president's words to either rally his base or stumble into chaos. And then he snapped. Red-faced, voice cracking, Trump launched into a rant so frenzied it stunned even his closest supporters. His hands flailed, his tone wavered between anger and desperation, and his sentences unraveled into contradictions that made seasoned journalists exchange looks of disbelief. A hush fell over the room, broken only by gasps and nervous laughter. He wasn't just making a point, he was losing control in front of millions. And in that moment, the myth of Trump's unshakable confidence began to crumble. Trump's tirade didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened on a stage where the stakes were enormous. The event was billed as a defining moment, a chance for him to prove he could still command the national spotlight with authority. Instead, he revealed cracks in the armor. As reporters scribbled furiously, commentators whispered about what this meltdown could mean for the broader political landscape. Trump wasn't just yelling at opponents, he was railing against shadows, turning imagined slights into enemies, and dragging the room into his spiral. For those who had watched his rise, this moment mattered because it wasn't just about rhetoric. It was about whether a man once considered untouchable could finally be seen for what he was: insecure, cornered, and unraveling under the weight of his own words. The stakes stretched far beyond the stage. This wasn't only about Trump, it was about the future of leadership in America. His breakdown became a mirror reflecting the dangers of arrogance, the cost of bluster, and the fragility of power built on spectacle. And within minutes, the meltdown wasn't confined to that hall, it was spreading online, exploding into a viral firestorm. Donald Trump's political career has always been framed as larger than life. From the golden escalator descent to the fiery rallies, he positioned himself as the man who could bend reality to his will. His fans saw strength, his critics saw bluster. But either way, he commanded attention. Yet beneath the image of control, Trump's history is riddled with arrogance and fragility. He's mocked opponents, belittled allies, and doubled down when cornered. Time and again, he leaned on spectacle to shield him from substance. But arrogance only works until it meets its breaking point. His wealth, his branding, and his showmanship built him into a Goliath figure. Towering, unshakable. Yet every Goliath has a weakness. And for Trump, it was always the same. When challenged, when pressed, when he felt the adoration slipping, his composure cracked. This rant, this snap, was not an isolated moment. It was the culmination of years of unchecked ego, now finally unraveling in public. Because arrogance can look like strength until the mask slips and the world sees the desperation beneath. In this story, the protagonist isn't just one person, it's the collective audience that has endured Trump's chaos for years. Ordinary citizens, journalists, and even disillusioned supporters became the counter voice in this narrative. America had watched Trump dominate headlines, twisting conversations, and drowning out reason with noise. But people learned. They grew sharper, more discerning. The same tactics that once intimidated now exposed weakness. The counter voice, the rising demand for dignity and truth, was embodied in the quiet reactions of those who didn't clap. The journalists who raised eyebrows. The viewers who turned his words into memes mocking him instead of praising him. Trump thought he was in command. In reality, the room and the nation was waiting for the slip. And when it came, they seized it. Tease. Because sometimes, the loudest man in the room only proves how little power he really has. As Trump's rant escalated, his words became more erratic. He lashed out at familiar targets, critics, the press, even former allies. But the more he spoke, the less coherent he became. His sentences spiraled, circling back on themselves, leaving the audience stunned. Meanwhile, cameras zoomed in on faces in the crowd, smirks, eye rolls, even suppressed laughter. Some supporters shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to clap or stay silent. The tension grew thicker with every second. This wasn't just about policy disagreements. It was about watching a man unravel live on stage, before millions. The power dynamic flipped. No longer was he the master showman, but rather the spectacle itself. And then, mid-rant, Trump delivered a line so outrageous, so self-defeating, that it would ignite ridicule across the nation. Trump thundered, pounding the podium. I'm the most persecuted man in the history of America. Worse than Lincoln. Worse than anyone. The room froze. Gasps echoed. Cameras captured wide-eyed stares. The line wasn't just exaggerated, it was absurd. And in that instant, Trump's performance crossed into self-parody. Journalists scribbled notes, fact-checkers immediately began pulling up history, and social media exploded. Tweets scrolled across the screen. Did he just compare himself to Lincoln? This man has lost it. Peak Trump meltdown. What made it worse was Trump's own delivery. He leaned forward, jabbing a finger, his face flushed, as if daring the world to deny him. Instead, the world laughed. Clips spread across platforms, edited with laugh tracks, remixed into memes, shared with captions mocking his delusion. For years, Trump had thrived on outrage, but now, the outrage was replaced with ridicule. He didn't look strong. He looked small. He stammered, tried to regain control, but the damage was done. The moment became the definition of overreach. When self-pity destroys the image of power. Mic drop moment. America wasn't left speechless because of awe, but because of disbelief. His words collapsed under their own weight, handing critics the ammunition they had been waiting for. The meltdown went viral within minutes. Hashtags like #TrumpSnaps and #Lincoln who trended worldwide. Late-night hosts mocked the speech in their monologues. Even conservative commentators admitted privately that the moment was a disaster. Memes flooded TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Trump's red face side by side with Abraham Lincoln's stoic portrait. Captions reading, "One freed the slaves, the other freed the laughter." Supporters scrambled to defend him, but many admitted the rant made them uneasy. Some quietly asked, "Is this the man we want leading again?" Meanwhile, critics found validation. For years, they had argued that Trump's bluster masked weakness, and here was the proof. Broadcast in real time, the spectacle wasn't just about Trump, it was about the lesson it left behind. Arrogance, when unchecked, inevitably collapses under its own weight. Leadership isn't proven by who yells the loudest, but by who holds their dignity when tested. America saw through the noise. What once looked like confidence was revealed as desperation. And that clarity mattered, not just for politics, but for the culture at large. The moral was simple. Truth outlasts bluster, dignity defeats noise. No matter how much a man shouts, history doesn't bend to ego. It bends to justice and resilience. For viewers who had felt exhausted, the moment was liberating. They weren't crazy, they weren't alone. Millions saw it too, and that shared realization sparked hope. Trump snapped, and in doing so, he humiliated himself in front of the world. His rant wasn't a display of power, it was a collapse of it. The lesson is clear. Arrogance always falls before authenticity, and bluster never outshines dignity. If you believe in standing for truth, if you believe in voices that rise above noise, then this is your moment to join the conversation. Share this story, subscribe for more, and let's remind the world that no matter how loud the lies get, clarity, courage, and dignity will always win. Because every time arrogance collapses under its own weight, it's not just the end of a rant, it's the beginning of a reckoning.